great to be together again. My relationship. Louder? You want this louder? All right. So we have a few snacks in the back. The kitchen is not available to us, so we're sort of like camping out. But there is some coffee, and there's decaf, and there's some other treats. If you haven't had a chance to get yourself something, by all means, charge ahead, get yourself settled. I'm going to give this microphone over to our soloist in just 1 second.
Because we're going to sing our anthem. We begin our meetings always with lift every voice, which always lifts me up, and I hope it lifts you up as well. We are going to have our annual financial report from our treasurer, and then how we're doing with the money. Always important to keep up with the money. We're going to meet some new neighbors who are here tonight with us. A dozen more new households since we were last together. So we're going to hear lots of information about the Grand River Streetscape project. I believe some of you have been at the planning meetings for that, but many of you have not. So David Legg is here to help us get all the details, find out what's going on with that. We're going to have a report from our District 1 manager, LaTrice McClendon. We're going to hear about this year's Easter egg hunt. If you haven't come before, this is a really great treat. Bring your youngins. Detroit Project Day cleanup we'll do in our neighborhood park. We're going to hear about Rip and Hope applications. The neighborhood open house, which we skipped last year, but we're reviving again this year. And then how our gala came to be canceled. So let's move ahead. Before we do that, we're going to do the anthem. If Debbie Gore, our pianist, and Patricia Brown, our soloist. The lyrics are on the back of your agenda. If you would, please, now's the time to stand up. Tune up your voices.
I'm glad you didn't go.
Okay, Aaron, would you do me a favor and tell Frank Raben, oh, here he comes. No, Frank is out at the front table. Frank, you're on. Here he comes. I always put the financial report at the very beginning of the meeting. It's not perhaps the most exciting element of our agenda, but I always want to make sure that we pay attention. So before you get weary of the whole thing, I want you to hear the details, because keeping the money straight is such an important part of any organization. And we all need to pay attention to the money. Fortunately, we're in great hands with Frank Raben, who really knows what he's doing about this stuff. Take it away, Frank.
Well, with no money, we wouldn't exist, right?
Thank you. Make it larger.
Get your binoculars out. I'm giving you just the year end tonight because my bookkeeper got sick the last few days and didn't get the February bank recs and all that done, so I couldn't pull financials yet for February. But dues are rolling in. We're at about 371 or 2, something like that. So we're coming in pretty good. I think we ended the year within our budget. We're $767 shy of using it all, so that's a good thing.
That's good.
Probably would have had a little more surplus at the end of the year than we did, just because we bought some hoodies at the end of the year, so it was an expenditure we hadn't really thought about making. But I still think once the dues get in, probably April and May, when most of the dues will probably be in, we'll probably be able to move a couple $1,000 over to our savings account for the rainy day funds. So, the balance sheet is still real strong, and everybody's working within the budget. And so, not a lot to say about that, but encourage neighbors that haven't paid their dues to pay their dues, obviously. A lot more people are using the PayPal option. About a third of people that have paid so far are using PayPal. So that's increasing. And I was just talking to our credit union yesterday, and I'm going to explore an option there where we can basically do the same thing as PayPal at a lesser fee. And people that have the option, rather than a credit card, they could actually have money transferred from their bank account. So I'm going to explore that a little bit more. And we could also use it as our bookkeeping platform too. So, could save us some money there. So that's more to come on that. But other than that, if you got any questions about the financials, I'm out there. Be happy to let you see something you can actually read. Yeah.
So with the PayPal, there is no fee, or there is?
There is. We pay 2.9% plus like 30% processing fee. So, there's an upcharge to the person who uses PayPal of $2. So I think we make about 53 cents over and above on that transaction. But the one at the credit union program is like 1.9% with no other fees. So that's something that I'm going to explore it some more. If we could make it work, I think it'd be a neat option. Basically do the same thing. Save us and give everybody else kind of a different option than having to pay with a credit card. So, more to come on that.
Other questions? Frank is happy to take your money if you haven't paid yet. You can give it to him
Cash,
today.
credit, or
Yes. Credit card or check. That's right. We got you covered.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Let's give Frank a round of applause.
He makes it look so simple, but it's not. We're really lucky to have Frank. All right. Next on our agenda, meet the new neighbors. Since we last talked about things, which was back in November of 2018, we have 12 more new households in Rosedale Park. Yay! Okay, so we have a new resident on Rosemont, Delene Talbert. I don't think they're present. Jose and Rosa Rivas on Penrod. And Ricky and Kim Merrifield on Penrod. Two new households on the same block of Penrod between Chalfont and Eaton. The Merrifields have relatives from Georgia visiting, so they're not able to come tonight, but they promise they'll come in May. So we'll put their slide back up and welcome them at that time. Monique Harris on the corner of Faust and Linden. You can picture that, the southeast corner of Faust and Linden. She just moved in maybe like a month ago. That's that peculiar block. It's south of Linden. The side of the street closest to the freeway, the east side of the street, is in Rosedale. The other side of the street is in Grandmont number 1. Go figure. It's a census tract, is why. So she's not able to join us tonight. Adrian Dawson on Greenview. That's on your block, Jude. I think a few houses north of you. LaRon Ellerby, also on Greenview. I think that's on your block, Ken, isn't it? And Nolan's. I think this is on your block. And Derek Bell on Stahalin. This is the dead-end block of Stahalin, behind Greater Ebenezer. And no, he emailed me today and said he wasn't able to come tonight, but again, he promises to come in May. This is a really big home and a big property. It has a big garage behind it, and grounds and playscapes, and it's quite a big property there. Dante Birch and Elizabeth King on Artesian. Are you guys here? They were, hey, they are here. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on up. Really have you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are, why you wanted to come to live in Rosedale Park. All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Dante Birch. This is my fiance here, Elizabeth King. We moved in January. I work in finance. She works for the MEDC, so kind of like the state, and community development. And yeah, we had friends that lived actually 5 houses down from us, so we just kind of fell in love with the neighborhood, and then a house came up for sale. So yeah, we love it. It's been a couple months, and everything's great.
Welcome.
We're delighted you're here. So you heard about Rosedale Park from your friends who live on Artesian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in the summertime. It's been
There's a strong Artesian contingent always present at our meetings. Welcome to the neighborhood. We're delighted to have you. We're so glad you're here. This is a beautiful house, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy living in it. Wonderful. All right then, James and Madeline Bragg on Granville. Madeline is here. Come on up. I met her husband Jamie at the coffee shop, which is now called Town Hall Cafe, and we're just delighted to have you.
Hi everyone, I'm Hattie. My husband is Jamie. We have 3 kids. Tori is 12, Tripp is 3, and Hollis is 10 months.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we moved in, I think, the end of February. And we're just really happy to be here. We've been in the city, we moved from the East Coast about 5 years ago. My husband is a pastor, and I'm an ICU nurse at Children's. And yeah, we're just really excited to be in the neighborhood and to get to know everyone.
We're delighted to have you. This particular house was a foreclosed house that was pulled off of the auction list by the county for its right of first refusal program. I think it's called Action Before Auction now. It wasn't called that when this one came up, but it was restored by the people who purchased it from Wayne County. And now it has a brand new family, and it's a house that's been vacant for a very long time. And neighbors are just cheering. They're so delighted over having a new family move in. So a wonderful outcome. That's exactly what we like to hear in Rosedale. All right. And Reginald Green on Westwood. I haven't heard anything from Mr. Green, but this is a new neighbor. And then right next door, Nurse Monica is here. Monica Rosen, come on up and introduce yourself to us. This is an interesting situation where 2 neighbors side by side. They're both new. Have you met the person next door to you? Yeah?
I haven't, but Elena has.
Oh, okay. Elena has. All right. That's good. So you're already being good Rosedale neighbors, meeting your
My name is Monica. I'm a nurse. I have a one son, a 12-year-old. I've been in Detroit all my life, and I like Rosedale neighborhood, so that's why I decided to buy in Rosedale.
Where are you?
U.S. Medical Management. I do triaging.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Hi, I'm Delano. Like she said, we just moved from Westwood and we're here. I'm a banquet chef down at the Detroit Marriott Renaissance.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
You met Mr. Green. You met Mr. Green?
Mrs. Green, I'm not exactly sure what her name was. I can't remember. Yeah, I met her Sunday.
We met the neighbor to the left side. Carolyn, the neighbor.
Yes.
And then like July, I think it's on me.
Yes. Wonderful. So this is Miss Monica's house, and then this is the last one. This sale, I think, just happened, didn't it, Jill? Like a week or 2 ago. Dan Swick and Aaron Fogarty, are you here? Aaron, come on up. I've been dying to find out if your husband is related to Sarah Swick.
I don't think so.
Michigan Radio, Sarah Swick?
Oh, no.
Hi, I'm Erin. My boyfriend Dan and I moved in about 3 weeks ago now, so pretty fresh. He couldn't be here. He's in class right now. He's finishing up his bachelor's, so he got a pass tonight. He works for Roush in Livonia. I am a special education teacher in Dearborn Public Schools, so not too far away. And we heard about Rosedale from, we have 2 sets of friends, one on Artesian and then one who is over on Edinburgh, kind of across Outer Drive. So they had nothing but good things to say, so we decided to join the bandwagon.
Very, very good. I'm always so happy to have new people coming because it's the neighborhood renewing itself, and it's really the way forward. It's the future. And so we're delighted to have all these new families joining us. It's a very special place. I've lived in 4 or 5 different places in my adult life. There's no place like this. It's really unique. You'll make amazing connections with amazing people. The sense of community and connectedness is like no place on earth. It's very, very unusual, and treasure it. I can't tell you how many people who have left and who keep coming back and say, oh, this was so amazing, I'm so sorry we ever left. So stick it out, you're in the right place. Okay, now we have an amazing presentation from David Legg. David edits our Sunday e-blast that I hope you're all signed up for and that you get every Sunday. It keeps us all well informed about what's going on. A longtime resident of Artesian and also a really interested in infrastructure kinds of pedestrian walkability issues. So we're having a giant repaving of Grand River in our neighborhood, the main commercial district of our neighborhood. I don't know how many of you have been to any of the planning meetings? So a few of you have, good, but many of you have not. So this will be, I asked David to sort of start from the beginning, and because I suspected a lot of you would be unaware of this project. So I'm going to give it to David now. He has an amazing presentation he's put together for you.
As Stephanie said, no pressure. If I can do it with this mouse, it's wireless, right? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this process has been going on for a while. As you know, Grand River is a state highway. And because of that, MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, has jurisdiction over that. They set all the maintenance schedules and pay for all the paving and all of that. That's not the same as other streets. Finkel, for instance, is a county road. Outer Drive is a county road. So there's kind of a hodgepodge of who does what on the streets. But this summer, Grand River, between Southfield and Burke Road, is set for repaving. Well, it just so happens that the city also has some plans for the northwest side, sort of centered around Grand River. And the water department had some plans for Grand River, so they tried to coordinate all of those things and do everything at once. So this is going to be a real major change. It could have just been repaving and keeping things exactly the way it is, but for those of you who have been around here for a while, you know Grand River is really the one thing that's divisive in the neighborhood. It divides the north side from the south side of Grand River and makes it really kind of difficult sometimes for people to do everyday activities, going shopping or walking up to the coffee shop or whatever. Hopefully that will change. They also set aside two different, they're calling them nodes, but two different areas along this construction site zone for some special upgrades. Our neighborhood is one of those. The other one is in the old Redford area from McNichols, which is, kind of that crazy angled intersection by Myers, out to Burke Road. And they're going to do some real sprucing up in those areas. There's $8 million going into this. $7 million of it is coming from the state, and the city is putting in $1 million. So it sounds like a pretty good deal to me, and it should be mostly done by November. So the construction is supposed to start, and I'm putting an asterisk there. I don't know if you can see it or not. The construction is supposed to start in July. However, I have not been able to find out when the water department is actually starting their work. Does anybody know? It's not posted, and I haven't seen it on any of their calendars from 2017 to 2022, which they have posted. That being said, there is a project going on right here in North Rosedale. And I don't know if they've started to work on that yet or not. So it may be tied in with that project. If so, it'll start as soon as the weather breaks. If not, I don't know what the water schedule looks like. Maybe that won't work. So just as a little bit of background history on this, the meetings on this project have been going on for a long time, going back to December of 2016. And I don't even know how many there have been, a dozen anyway. And some of them have been with small focus groups, but several of them have been large open community groups. I've seen as many as, I don't know, 120, 130 people at them. I don't think any of them I've been to have had less than at least a few dozen people. So there's been quite a bit of community input into this process. I know that there will be people in the neighborhood that will say, I didn't know anything about this, I wanted to give my input too. Well, you know, we've really publicized it, the city's publicized it, the state has publicized it, and there's been ample turnout for it. The last time this was resurfaced, I think, was 2005. Is that the date you gave it? 2005. And it's just due for resurfacing again on the state's calendar. Some people have brought up the question of, okay, Grand River is not in that bad a shape. Why don't you take that money and put it into fill in the blank other project? The monies that are set aside for projects like this can't be used for anything else. So they can't just shift it from, let's say, Grand River to side streets because it comes from a different kitty, and you know they have to keep really precise track of where money flows, as we know, and that's the reason for it. They combined all of those schedules to try to reduce as many problems as possible. Now, as it turns out, since the last time this was resurfaced, the state and the city have both adopted what are called complete streets policies. Now what that means is, this is kind of wordy, but it's a quote. Communities direct their transportation planners and engineers to routinely design and operate the entire right-of-way, meaning from the front of the building to the front of the building across the street, in a way to enable safe access for all users, regardless of their age, ability, or the mode of transportation. So I think for a long time, the idea has been streets are for cars, the end. And the real concept was get as many cars through as fast as possible. And if you design roads for as many cars as possible to go as fast as possible, that's exactly what you get. So Grand River is supposed to be 35 miles an hour. Good luck on that, because they've, during the testing phase of this, there were cars routinely doing 65 miles an hour right through our neighborhood. And this is a residential neighborhood with a really large business strip along Grand River. And there are many, many people who are afraid to cross Grand River. They're afraid to drive across Grand River. They're afraid to park on the street on Grand River because of the way the traffic is. Hopefully, this will change that, because every one of the things that they put in this plan, Pam kind of alluded to it, I like reading about this kind of thing, but everything that they have put into this plan has been proven to slow down traffic. So, because they've been put into place many, many places around the country. So I'm really hopeful, because I really do like to be able to walk to the grocery store. That's why I don't live way out somewhere else. Now, that being said, Grand River is a state trunk line. And so they have some minimum standards that they put into place based on the kind of traffic and the amount of traffic that's going to be traveling in their road. So one of the suggestions was, hey, let's knock Grand River down to one lane in each direction. Well, they said no, there's no way, because of the number of cars that go through. Okay, so we have the $8 million. The cost for each of the items that's going in, it really has kind of a preset cost. And you can't really change that. So all you can do in making changes to the plan is sort of adjust the balance of things that you put in. And I think on this next slide, yes. So proposed design, see the green dots? Those are things that are going in. And so they all have a particular cost. And there's actually a list of how much these things cost, but the dollar signs kind of give you an idea of, you know, the relative cost of it. The bottom section with the yellow and red are the optional items. And one thing that came up in our list, and you'll see the whole list in a second, was pedestrian lighting and also neighborhood branding, which would include things like banners on the light poles and that sort of, you know, welcome to Rosedale Park. Unfortunately, in 2005, they replaced all the light poles on Grand River. Those of us who have been around for a while remember those old kind of metal ones they had. The new ones don't have any foundations. They are fiberglass poles that are stuck down in the ground. You cannot put a banner on those because it's like a sail. When the wind kicks up, it'll take them right over. So that part of it was totally out. So that's why the cost is so high on that. They would have to replace all the light poles and all the foundations and all the wiring. And that was just not something that could happen in this project. Maybe another project some other time. These are the things that, as a community, we came up with that we wanted to see. And they're kind of in the order of how much people wanted them. The first thing was safe pedestrian crossings, additional crossings across Grand River, shorter crossing distances, because it's 100 feet right now. And you have about 3.6 seconds to get across at some of the crossings. And also better protection at the crossings. Traffic calming, which is actually an official term. That means to get traffic to slow down and quit driving like a bunch of maniacs. And something that's kind of interesting that's happened in other cities, when they've calmed traffic on a main road, it calms it on the side streets too. Because people have a different attitude when they come off of a calm street. You know, their mind's not in aggressive go, go, go mode. Parking, we wanted to make sure that we maintain parking for the businesses on Grand River. We want to encourage more businesses to come to Grand River and not make it harder for them. Also landscaping, to make it look nice and to make it look like an inviting place. Lighting, and we kind of talked about that a second ago. Transit, although, you know, Rosedale Park's an area where 95% of the people, and I think that's the exact number, drive to work, one person in a car every day, which is kind of unusual in an urban area that's more of a suburban style. But we wanted to encourage a better setup for transit in the neighborhood. And also other things were, we wanted to make sure that the design was cohesive in the neighborhood and gave kind of an overall look. We wanted it to go all the way through the whole 2.8 miles, but it'll probably mostly be in the nodes. There were a number of people that really wanted to extend it in both directions on the Grand River. The state said, we are paving from Southfield to Burr. That's where the project will be. There were some folks over from Grandmont at some of the meetings who were really upset that these changes were not going to be put on the other side of Southfield, and I understand why. We saw it as an opportunity for neighborhood branding and getting artists involved, and also the priority was to support business growth, walkability, and maybe even, just throwing it out, some cafe seating. You know, sidewalk seating. You can't do that in Grand River right now. It's not allowed because the traffic is too fast and it's too close to the sidewalk. And so the state will not permit sidewalk seating there because it's too dangerous, even on the sidewalk. They presented us with 3 different designs at one of the more recent meetings for the way the lanes would be configured. And this is the one that the community selected. So the sidewalks are a different size on each side of the street. It's wider on the north side than on the south side. And so starting from, we'll start on the south side, which is the Rosedale Park side. There will be a parking lane, 2 10-foot driving lanes. Those are narrower than they are now. I think they're 12-foot lanes now. A 10-foot left turn lane, 2 more driving lanes, then parking, then a 3-foot buffer, and then a 2-way bike lane. Then the next sidewalk on the north side. That would be on the North Rosedale side. There wasn't enough room on the street to have a 1-way bike lane on each side, plus a 3-foot buffer. The buffer is required by code, and it's designed to keep car doors from accidentally opening as a bicycle smashes into it. So the only way they could fit that in was to have a 2-way lane on one side of the street. The businesses on the north side are, I would say, a little different than the businesses on the south side. There are more doctors' offices, I think, and dentist offices and so on. So at least in the short run, I think this will probably work out. But this was the design that they selected. 75% of the respondents support bike lanes. I know there are some people that think they're just the worst thing ever invented, but the vast majority of the people who gave input were very much in favor. And 75% also were either supportive or strongly supportive of this setup out of the 3 choices. If you want to see the other 2, it is on the project website, which I'll give you at the end. So this is kind of the way it'll look. This is, yeah, you'd be right in front of Vegan Soul from this vantage point. There's Mama's Southern Cooking, the restaurant it's closed now. Oh, that's right. The cat toy is called. So Vegan Soul would be right here. And this is Westmoreland / Breton that comes out, and that is GRDC. So you can see we've got 2 lanes of traffic here, parking, and then here's that buffer, and it has bollards in it. Those are poles. They're plastic. They don't look like the ones, well, I don't know which ones they're going to put in. I don't think they're going to look like those big yellow ones in front of Myers, but they're not going to do a lot of damage to your car, but you wouldn't want to smash into them. And it definitely tells drivers, no, this is, cars stay on this side, bikes go on the other. And the bike lanes are here, the 2-way bike lanes. It's going to have little bicycle lane stripes in it. And where there's a driveway, there will be special markings on the bike lanes. Here's where there's a street. Some areas will not have parking at all. It'll be marked off with paint stripes like this. In most places, especially going westbound, there will be no turn on the red, and there will be no right turn lane. That right lane now is whatever you want it to be lane. Pass at 65 miles an hour on the right. Yeah, and it's going to be marked out as parking with the bike lane there. Now, in some places in the city, they've got the bike lanes painted, but there's no barrier, and people don't even know what to do with them. They park in them. They say, wow, these are crazy lines. So, as I point out later, it's going to take some education, and they know this. There will be what are called bump outs, and this will be something that's very different for, I think, Detroit in general. What that is a curb extension that is at any place where there's a pedestrian crossing. The curb will go out to the end of the parking lane on both sides of the street. That will, it does a bunch of things. It is safer. It allows you to see the traffic. You don't have to peer around cars. They can see you, and you can make eye contact with them, and then it shortens the distance that you have to travel. But it also removes the right turn lane, and it reduces the ability for people to pass on the right, because if they try to blow by you at the corner, first of all, they wouldn't be able to because there's a bump out right there, and when they get across the intersection, there's another bump out. And it is curb height. So this is a picture from Google Maps that I downloaded. This is in downtown Royal Oak. And I think this is a really good example. There's one bump out on this intersection right here. The other ones don't have bump outs. And you can see how much it shortens the distance that you have to cross the street compared to this corner. And if there were another bump out over here, they don't have room on the street to have a two-way street and two bump outs on 5th because there would only be room for one lane to go through. So to maintain the two-way traffic, they had to go with just the one bump out. But I think that's a good, bird's eye view of what it looks like and how much it'll shorten the distance you have to travel. This is the way the intersection at Evergreen and Grand River will look. So this is looking down Grand River toward downtown from Evergreen. And so this is AutoZone, the Citgo station. And so over here you've got the two-way bike lanes, the bump out island, 2 traffic lanes, center turn, 2 traffic lanes, another bump out. And then you've got parking and the bus stop right here. So you have parking there too. Nobody parks on the street there now because it's used as a traffic lane. And it'll actually increase the amount of street parking that we have. This is the way the pedestrian crossings are going to be marked. There will be crossings at the signalized intersections where there are traffic signals, but also there are going to be some pedestrian crossings where there are not traffic signals. Pardon? Mid-block, yeah. And this is what the signs look like, and they've got these really, really bright electronic flashers here. And I tried to find one that was exactly the same layout as our neighborhood, but this is the closest I could come. So this is more of a park-like setting, and there's no parking on the side, but you've got 2 traffic lanes, a middle of the street refuge island, as it's called, with another set of the lights and signs, and then 2 more lanes, and then another sign on the other side of the street. So there will be 3 sets of flashing lights with a button for you to push, and it's on demand. You push the button, the light starts. Now, state law in every state, I think every state, says if a pedestrian's in a marked crosswalk, you are supposed to stop. 18% of drivers stop. When you put one of these in, it increases the compliance to 85%. Just from this. I still wouldn't walk out in front of a moving car until I've made eye contact and I know that they're not on the phone and they will actually stop. But there are several of those that are going in. And I had in my mind 5 locations. And when I looked at the list, I could only see 4. So there must be another one somewhere. One at Glastonbury, one between Artesia and Stahalin, the exact location was something we were deciding at this meeting. One around Piedmont and Granville, and another one around Auburn. And they gave us at the meeting alternative locations and alternative designs on a big printed out map that was probably 12 feet long. And people went through and wrote comments on it. And they will go through those comments and make their final decision on that before the next meeting.
David?
Yes.
The 5th
there's a fifth pedestrian crossing, and it's, if you can picture the Georges, Coney Island, it's roughly a little bit west or north of there, of the Georges, but roughly at the Georges across the street, roughly landing in front of the dry cleaners, I think. So that would be the fifth one. Then the one at Auburn, I think more in front of Vegan Soul, coming across and landing in front of Vegan Soul.
I did see that actually, and I thought that that was maybe paired with one of the other ones. Okay. No, yeah, it's Minot Street.
Right.
Right, okay. So here's an example of one of the, this is not a final design, but it is from the plans that they had for us to comment on. This one is at Glastonbury. So you can see that this one kind of takes a little jog in the middle, but basically this is the Weatherspoon? Witherspoon, yeah. Dental, Indian Village Cleaners here. And so you go out, and this is the refuge island. This is the bump out, and then the bike route goes on the other side of the bump out. So there's actually a pedestrian crossing across the bike route and then to the curb. And this will be built like this all the way on the north side of Grand River. This is a bus stop. Now there are two kinds of bus stops. One is using an island like this, and in that case the bus will stop in the driving lane, the right-hand driving lane on the westbound lanes. On the other side, some of them will have a pull-off for the bus, but some of them will also be an island like this. And this is the way the bus stop islands are set up. So the bike route cuts across that, but there's a ramp right here for the bicycles. This is all at grade. So if you were in a wheelchair or had mobility issues, this would all be flush across there. And then there's another ramp down there. But the markings are set up so that people will realize, oh, this is a bike route, this is a pedestrian crossing. And then out here you'll see there's a bench and trash can and so on. And the bus stops will be marked in red, and the bike markings are all green. You've probably seen some green paint on different streets around the city. They started putting those in last year and a half, and that is the standard color for bike route painted lines. In two different locations there will be new bus shelters. One at Evergreen, well actually two at Evergreen, two at Ashton, in that kind of big intersection there. But it's a new design, there's solar powered, so these are solar panels up here. They will have lighting at nighttime and also device charging ports for transit transit users who need to charge their phone, which is a great thing. And they've got the seats set up, in the kind of modern way so nobody can stretch out and get too comfortable. There will be a new traffic signal at CVS in Grantland, which is so sorely needed. It will be at the driveway entrance to Grantland. So the CVS driveway is over here. You will not have anybody who could shoot out of this and just shoot straight across because there will be refuge islands for the crosswalks there. Now these intersections will not have those flashing pedestrian lights. They'll be standard pedestrian crossing signals. The other thing that's going to happen is Warwick is going to get a makeover. So this is the way Warwick is now, that the two sides don't line up. This part of Warwick shoots out with these lights, and some people shoot right into Little Caesars. And some people come around this corner and do this, and some do this and don't stop at that line. And I think that intersection has a lot of fender benders, because when I walk by there, there's almost always a bumper on the ground. So I think there are a lot of those little fender benders there. So this is the way it will look. Warwick is going to be rerouted on our side of Grand River, so that the two parts line up, and then we're going to redo the intersection with bump outs and with a bus stop, and then this is Little Caesar's driveway. So once again, you won't be able to just shoot out of there and go into Little Caesar's. I think it'll really kind of organize the traffic, and there will be no turn on red westbound. So the next steps, the final design is supposed to be presented on April 10th. And I think that's probably a tentative date. And I think it's going to be at Crowell, because that's where the last few meetings have been. Crowell Recreation Center on Lazard. I don't have a date published for the start of the water department work. But they said that they're going to replace all of the mains in the whole project area. This area was built up in 1920. The water system probably went in between 1920 and 1930. It's probably due for it. Some of the mains are under the street, but some are under the sidewalks. And that really also helps determine where trees can go. So they were looking at some possible locations for new trees, but if there are pipes and wiring and things like that, that really limits where they can put it. They said that all pedestrian and driveway access will be open during the whole project. I'm sure there will be times when they have to close it temporarily, but they're going to try to keep it open during the whole time. They are planning on a communication outreach with mailers and with maybe door hangers, cards to notify people. And also they know that there's going to be a learning curve on this, because we're not used to this in Detroit, and it's a whole new style of road layout for us in this part of town. So if you want more detailed information, I wrote a summary that's on the website now. It's more detailed, and it has some pictures and some different information. But that's at rosedalepark.org. It's right there on the front page. You can see it. Just click read more, and it'll open up a PDF file. And also the city planning department has a project page, detroitmi.gov/northwest. And that covers all of the efforts that are going in the whole. It's basically, I think, called District 1. But there's a lot more than just this highway project. So I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep, and looks like we've got something else coming up next. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, I'm not an expert on it. I'm not from the project, but if I know it, sure.
Will the water board complete their work before we pay? Will the water board complete their work before we do the pay, to avoid having the water board come back after we do the pay?
Yeah.
The idea is for the water main work and the road resurfacing work to go on simultaneously. So they won't have to, normally they would tear up the road to do water mains, right? So they were already tearing up the road to resurface it, so they decided to coordinate it. Now that's my only one real deep well of uncertainty is the water work. It seems to me the water work could throw the timetable off a a lot, but we're gonna think positive, and we're gonna be, optimistic that this is all gonna go really smoothly and that the water mains will all be replaced. I'm sure you've noticed, as have I, that there are frequent water main breaks on Grand River. There's a couple of locations that are just chronic, just this side of the intersection at Outer Drive. There's a barber shop, can you picture it? I don't know how many times, a dental appliance building here too. Easily half a dozen times they've had to pull that up and redo it. So we definitely need the water mains to be done, but we'll have to wait and see how smoothly this all rolls along. But they say they're going to replace them the entire length of the project, which is Southfield all the way to Burke Road. So it's going to be amazing. More questions or comments?
I thought I saw another hand.
Here's one in the back of the room. Harriet, shout at us.
Will there be an assessment to the residents for this water?
An assessment. I haven't heard anything about that.
No. There has been some information about replacing all the water lines in the neighborhoods, in the residential areas, and that's a whole different thing. There's a thing about doing bonds for that, and that would end up eventually having an increase on our water bill. But this on Grand River is fully funded. This has nothing to do with us. The city and the water department have the funds in place, and this is not going to impact anybody's bill. So more questions. I'm going to ask LaTrice to come on up since we're starting to edge into City of Detroit terrain, and LaTrice has a lot more information. Our old district manager, Stephanie Young, is with us tonight. She's now our Vice President of Rosedale Park Improvement. And our new District 1 manager is with us tonight. So I'm just going to hand this off to LaTrice and let you continue to ask questions or make comments about this.
All right, hello everybody. How you guys doing? Any more questions about the streetscapes before I go into? I have 10 minutes. You did a wonderful job explaining. It was very accurate, and I do approve. Because sometimes people do presentations and they look a lot different than like what we actually did in those meetings, and you were very accurate. So thank you for that. Any other questions about the streetscapes? All right, you guys are an easy crowd tonight. Let's keep that up, okay? So, my name is LaTrice McClendon. For those of you who don't know me, I know most of you guys in the room. I am your District 1 manager. I also live over here in the neighborhood. I'm actually raising 3 kids over here in the neighborhood, right? Not by myself, though. I have another guy with me that hangs out sometimes. But I wanted to come talk to you guys about a few things. One, we passed out some District 1 community info sheets. So that you guys have like the basic contact numbers for important departments with the City of Detroit. So if you guys ever have questions about abandoned vehicles or abandoned disposal, I noticed on here that we need to update 2 of our NPOs because one has retired, and Officer Timothy Cox is also not with us anymore in this particular neighborhood. So I'm going to update that and get that over to Pam. So if you guys have any questions, my contact, my email, everything you need to know about me or my Deputy District Manager Kaya is on this paper here. All right. So there's been a couple things that I've been working on specifically in Rosedale Park, one being the streetscapes and the resurfacing of the roads. That's going well. We're very excited and satisfied. Just want to commend you guys for coming out to those meetings and letting your voices be heard because of your organization as a group. That light at Grand Legg got put in, right? That's a big deal. I don't think that was on the agenda when we first started this, but because you guys really pushed for it, we were able to secure that location, and that's huge. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about something important. So I'm going to switch off the streetscapes. How many people here heard the mayor's State of the City address? Great room, I love it. All right, so during the address, so Stephanie, I apologize, Stephanie gave me Tic Tacs, but it was actually gum. I never had a Tic Tac gum before, so excuse me for having gum in my mouth. So the mayor talked about our surveillance cameras on traffic lights. Anybody remember hearing him kind of speak to that a little bit? And so, as a city, you guys know, we're still like #3 major city for violent crimes, and we still have issues in our neighborhoods. And so to combat that, there's an opportunity for District 1 to pilot a program in the neighborhoods. And the name of the program is called the Neighborhood Real-Time Intelligence Program. And what that program will do is we will pretty much put cameras at all of our major intersections. Like let's just take Red River, for example. So for every half a mile, we'll have a camera that taps into our DPD system. And we'll be able to track, say, a shooter or a carjacker. We'll be able to kind of find that car. Now, I know this could be a controversial topic for many. And so if you guys have questions offline, we can, or even, I guess, in front of everybody, you can ask me. But we are actually sending around a resolution. We have, I know some of you guys have already signed it. Stephanie is going to assist me today. And we are asking for, if this is something you want to see in this neighborhood, if you're interested in having the cameras kind of tapped into our DPD as far as our streets, like think about Evergreen or Finkel or Schoolcraft. So if something was to happen, you can actually follow that person and we can get them off the street if it was like a shooting or something. You guys follow me? Yes. We have an opportunity to do that. And so District 2 really wants it, right? So that Livernois area, they are like, we want to be the first to pilot it. I think it works really well for District 1 because we have the 8th precinct. And what's happening at the 8th precinct, they're actually getting the they're going to be able to monitor from the actual precinct. They're going to be like a live command center, right, for the green lights and for the cameras. And so it fits our district a little bit more because our actual officers will have the opportunity to see what's going on within this area. So if that's something that you're interested in supporting, or you say, yes, I do, as Rosedale Park Block Club, Association supports this initiative. Stephanie has some sheets for you to sign there. I just want to make a point that it is a pilot program, and so a lot of questions of how is this funded, and we, right now, most pilots are funded, right? We got to see where it goes from here. And so the funding is not going to raise taxes. We're not going to raise taxes or anything right now because we actually are just piloting the program to see if it works. Let's see. We also, if we were to do this, we would do this over the next 3 to 6 months. So you will begin to see cameras installed on Grand River, on Evergreen, on Schoolcraft, on Finkel. So it will not actually be in the neighborhood. So if you live on Gore, you're not going to see the cameras actually on your street. Does that make sense? So I just want to make sure you guys understand we're not talking about actually in the residential or the residential streets. Okay? Any questions about this? Yes, sir. Ivan.
Will Outer Drive and Grand River be one of the locations of cameras?
It could be, yes. Any major street. So Outer Drive is considered a major street. So did you say Grand River? Yes. Yes, Grand River would be, yes. And again, it'll go every half mile, and it's just a pilot. I would love for District 1. We've been working really hard to talk to every block club president, every association president. We haven't really heard any negative feedback. As a matter of fact, people are like, where do I sign? And if you would like to get more information about it, I have some fact sheets here for you, and I can also, I think I emailed that to Pam, so she can email that out to you guys as well if you have additional questions, as well as I have business cards if you want to do some follow-up or you think of something once we leave here tonight. Any other questions?
So most of you are familiar with the Green Light program. It's typically located at all the filling stations and usually the party stores. And so I think there was recently a really good example of why we also want to add them to these major thoroughfares. An elderly lady was at a filling station. She was carjacked. They pushed her down. They stole her purse. They jumped in her Cadillac and took off. And so sure enough, they can see it perfectly. As soon as they got out of the range of the camera at the filling station, though, where did they go? We don't know. There's no coverage out on the main street. Sure enough, maybe 15 minutes later, the same crew, they're at a different location, in a different part of Detroit. They're doing the same thing, and the same thing happens again. As soon as they pull out of the parking lot of the filling station, where do they go? So to be able to track people who commit crimes when they always escape on major arteries, major thoroughfares, it just makes complete sense to me that you'd want to have camera coverage so that you can actually chase them and arrest them. So I urge you to support this initiative. I've been circulating the petition around and asking you to sign. I would love if somebody would make a motion so that we can vote on it and LaTrice can carry that message back to the mayor that the people in Rosedale Park want to be the pilot program. We want it in our neighborhood and we support it. So if somebody would put their hand in the air, Bill Schlew.
I'd be happy to make that motion. I think it's a great idea. So I would move that we support the mayor's initiative and ask that we be one of the pilot areas.
All right, and Ivan?
Second the motion.
Many people second the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Wow, all right, so that was easy, right? That was great. And it's funny, and I'll tell you the truth, like one of the only questions I've been getting is like, Big Brother is watching us, right? But I told the story at the last meeting. I just left another block club meeting. And so this happened the other night. I was talking to my husband about something that we need to purchase an oven, right? And as soon as I woke up the next morning and I logged on to social media, there were ads for an oven. Never searched it on my phone, right? He never searched it on his phone. And so I'm kind of just explaining to people, it's just the signs of the time, right? So I think surveillance, especially, the Apple phones, they're spying on us, right? And so if that's your concern, I get it, because I was definitely shocked trying to figure out how I can take off any type of program on my phone that is listening to what I'm saying, because I could probably get in a lot of trouble one day, right? Some of the stuff I say. And so it's happening, it's all around us, but thank you guys for supporting it. Make sure we get your signature on the page that Stephanie has if you have not signed. The other thing I want to mention to you guys, I know we've been getting a lot of complaints. I had a couple from a few of your residents. Yes.
I have a quick question about the camera thing. Are they going to be installed in such a way where either to start or maybe in the future they could monitor traffic too, like people blowing through red lights?
So
like they got in Chicago where you get that ticket in the mail just because you did it?
So that came up in our meeting with the mayor last week. That is not something that we're trying to do at this point. So as far as like if you blow a light, you cannot get a ticket in the mail right now. Like that's not on our agenda right now. We're focusing on shootings and carjackings. So the answer, no. That's
not at all. It's not even on the radar.
So I received a few complaints about Grandland. And I drove up there myself to go to Rite Aid, and I noticed that there were clothes all over Grandland, right? There's some bins that have some issues. We've given the owner of the plaza an ample amount of time to get it cleaned up, and so we are working right now to get this, hopefully by the end of the week we'll have all those clothes and everything cleaned up. I mean, it's just not a good look for our community. And who wants to shop over there, right, with clothes everywhere? So I just wanted to give you guys an update. We are working with our environmental inspectors and our BC department to clean that up. And yes.
All right, so I want to chime in there because, like a lot of times, things are more complicated than they look. So, of course, it looks hideous. All these clothes and shoes and everything strewn all over the parking lot at Grandland. And you drive past and you think, what is wrong with this property owner? Why doesn't he clean up? All right, let me explain. He never okayed this charity, so-called charity, to put these bins in his parking lot. They never asked him, and he never gave his permission. And he has called repeatedly to request that they be removed. Guess what? They ignored him. On top of which, we have a challenged resident. Some of you are familiar with him. He lives on Ashton, and he frequently hangs out on the Southfield Service Drive. And you see, most recently, he's dressed a fire hydrant in sweaters and scarves and hats. And I mean, there's a sort of charm to some of what he does, but a lot of it is just garbage and bumpers and silly things, and he makes a big mess, and he's the main person, see, who goes up to the Grandland and pulls all the clothes out of the bins and leaves them on the ground. Right, so he's not a danger to himself or others. Being mentally ill is not against the law. We've tried to be tolerant. Our neighborhood police officer has spoken to him on numerous occasions. I've encouraged her to go back again and talk to him again about the huge mess that he's making up at Grandland. But we really, what would be great is if the city could assist the property owner, because he's made good faith attempts to get those bins out of there, because does anybody want those bins there? No, nobody wants them there except the people, the charity. So I feel like if the city, or if our neighborhood police officer, or the building department, or somebody with an official title could be the people doing the outreach to these so-called charities.
So we have reached out to the charities and several times, and so we have some tickets being issued to them. At this point, it's going to be a civil issue though, because if they don't move it, it's going to be between the property owner and that business. And so we talked to Dave Bell, he's the head of our BC department. We've issued tickets to charities. We are working to get them removed and trying to assist the owner in general, but he has to kind of take some steps too so that we can get those out. So we're on top of that. I'm hoping to have that resolved by the end of the week so that we don't have to see clothes all over the place. I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Yes, Ken.
I can understand about the clothes, but that's no excuse for the litter.
Absolutely.
We're on Greenview, we get annoyed when it all just goes down on the block. Yeah, those owners and those merchants up there need to be held responsible for picking up on site.
Absolutely. And so one of the things, Pam has been extra nice to the owners there because she understands, I mean, I think she has. She's been very considerate. At this point, we're kind of coming in and saying, hey, it's not just the clothes, it's also the litter, it's also the grease traps, it's also the garbage. And so we just want them to be accountable for having a clean area for us to shop, right? If that's what people want to do in that plaza, when we park our cars and so on. So we are working with Grandland and the owners to just get that whole property to a place that we deserve, right, as residents. So other than that, hey guys, we have Chief.
Hello, District Manager, wonderful job. We had a question over here as I'm circulating petitions, so I gotta take you back one subject. How is this being paid for? Now, I know that the real crime center exists downtown and all of that, but in terms of this pilot, can you?
So the pilot is funded usually through like, I don't have an answer to that question. I know that the pilot is funded. So when I don't know something, I'm gonna say I don't know. But usually pilots, like they'll allow us to fund so many pilots, right? And then we'll take it before probably city council and just supposed to get funding for this. But right now the pilot is paid for. I will say it was interesting because there's such a demand that they're looking at hiring civilian analysts. So this opportunity is going to create jobs for people to come on as civilian analysts to kind of watch the screens, right, and look for, piece things together, and I think that's really great. But I will get the answer to that question, but pilots are usually funded.
Yeah, we'll get the answer to the question, and it'll be in the next e-blast.
Yeah,
Watch your e-blast.
we're literally rolling this out, and this has kind of been a really quick thing because, again, I want to pilot, and I say I also live over here, right, and the feedback that I'm getting, I feel like it will be a great thing to pilot this in District 1. So, other than that, Pam, I know I see you a lot. Do anybody have any questions about blight issues? I mean, that's my main job, to fight blight. They have me in all kinds of things these days, but that is my main job. So if you guys have any questions about blight or anything, I can also answer those questions for you, except for Stephanie. No, go ahead, Stephanie. She can answer the question for you.
I love being able to give you all this stuff, so amazing. We need our, let's Park, Acacia Park, we lobbied to get chain link across the entrance of the park because people drive in there and drive all over, or somebody cut off the chain link. I told Pam I was going to report it, but I forgot. So now I'm giving it to the district manager.
Okay.
Let's get that replaced.
Not a problem. I actually have a
meeting with Parks tomorrow, Parks Department. We're also redoing Stoughton Park. And so I'll be sending out some information to you guys if you want to be a part of like we're renovating the entire park. Next month we'll have a full meeting. If you guys have like thoughts about what you want that park to look like or feel like, you can participate in that. Those meetings, I have some upcoming District 1 meetings next month. And so I'll make sure Pam gets all the announcements with the dates so you can find out what's happening. She keeps you guys informed, but you can always come check out our meetings. Yes, ma'am.
To piggyback off of the Acacia Park cutting, it's been a problem for a long time that when one barrier is put there, something, they cut it or do something. But at the other end, on the Ashton Road side, the city placed a barrier there, a concrete barrier that has helped decrease the illegal traffic that was just going into the turnaround zones. But we need to have a final solution because the barrier is not attractive. It's really ugly. And also it's not marked. So I'm thinking every time I hear somebody go down the street fast that I'm going to hear them also crash because they can't see the barrier.
Right. So I believe, so to be honest with you guys, I'm being videotaped. I have to make sure I say the right thing. I don't know that that barrier is something that we consider all the way legal, right?
Right.
Like, that's something that was put there, I'm just telling you, it's not necessarily something the city did. We did that, we left it there because we understood the issue. And so just as a recommendation, you guys might want to consider painting it with some reflective paint. We have been working on a solution though for that area. We do understand. Some of that is not all the way like the park because there's like that's not the park where that barrier is. We've been over there, Pam and I have been over there together.
Okay.
And so if you have reflective paint, you guys need something to do this summer, you might want to paint that yourself, just as an idea. But we will continue to look at options to figure out what works best for that dead end over there.
Right. Well, along with that, though, is the issue that there are still cars coming to park right in front of it, smack dab in the middle. So you have to have a no parking in brighter lights or something, or else make no parking towards right close to the end of the block where the park is, because it is still a problem.
Okay, duly noted, and I will revisit that conversation with our different departments to see what options we have.
And when I say still a problem, I'm talking about people having sex in their cars and, selling drugs on the street, that sort of thing, not just sitting there.
Absolutely, got you. All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate you. And I have some cards here for you if you guys have any questions. Pam does a good job at communicating, but you guys are welcome to. I just noticed, so my picture looks a lot better than I look today.
It looks good.
I'm going to have to work on that next time. I think you stole that off my Facebook, right? Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, LaTrice. You did a great job. All right. Moving on here to our next, whoops, I'm going too fast. On a happier note, happy Easter egg hunt. Carolyn and Akpe, come forth and tell us about the 2019 edition of the Grandmont Rosedale Easter egg hunt. Let's give Carolyn a round of applause. And Earl, McCullough. And Claire. Legg.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello?
Hello.
Is everybody awake?
Yes.
Good. Anyway, my name is Earl McCullough, and
Claire Leeton.
Carolyn Akpe.
and we are part of the Rosedale community and family. We've heard a lot about what's happening in this neighborhood, and I've been a resident of this neighborhood for 34 years. And I want to commend all the young families that are now moving into this area. So to put an even more positive spin on what we've been doing here over the last umpteen years, we're growing in a much different manner now. And one of the things that I want to encourage all of our young members of this growing family is to come out and be a part of what this family has been for years. This young lady right here, Carolyn, has spearheaded, I would say, the spirit of Rosedale Park, along with the other family members, but we've been so blessed to have so many people come out and engage in something that is truly unique. And if you've been around this neighborhood, or if you've lived in this neighborhood, as you look around where you're sitting, what this facility looked like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, what this whole area looked like 10 or 20 years ago, it is changing. And we're now engaged in a much more different look now. And with that said, one of the things that I can truly say impressed me, or not just me, but a lot of you that have been sitting here or didn't get a chance to, is our pancake breakfast that we have each year. So many young people came out this year. That's what I was told. My mind is somewhere else, you know, when we have this pancake event. But it's part of what we are as a family. And we have a park. We have several parks. But there's one park in particular that is very special to us. It's Flintstone Park, okay? And each year we engage upon a community relationship with University of Michigan students, as well as members of our community, such as you. Now, I'm gonna keep this short. We're gonna have a sign-up list, and watch your email, your e-blast, okay? We're looking for volunteers. Each year we have a special day in which we clean the park. We all come together as a family. This is one of our big backyards that we have a close affinity to, that we all join together with a mentoring type program. So I encourage all of you adults and all of you young people that are now coming in to see exactly and to join in what we do every year. And it's growing, and I want to see it grow even more. Myself, these young ladies, along with everyone else as far as I'm concerned, April 13th, it's on a Saturday. Mark that day down on your calendar. If you didn't do it now.
And so that might be a perfect time to paint the barricades that Wanda was just talking about, that are truly hideous looking. So it's a partnership with U of M students. They come, and we usually have 15 or so young students come and help us. And so painting the barricades, it sounds like that's something we can definitely add to our agenda. So don't forget about the egg hunt.
Yeah. Oh, she's going to talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
But anyway, sign up.
Sign up to volunteer for April 13th. It's on a Saturday. Regardless of the weather, we're going to be out there unless it snows 6 feet of snow or whatever. We're troopers. So it's going to be a sign-in list, volunteer. Let's have some fun. For you older young people, this is the time to mentor our young people and to show the spirit of what Rosedale Park is really all about.
Claire and I are here to represent the people who really, really have a good time at Easter. We'd like you to come and volunteer, but we'd like you to come and have fun. Yeah. We've got stuff like a petting zoo, We got some crafts, a little bit to eat. Okay? We've got Easter Bunny, and we got you. Okay? But before all that happens on April 20th, Saturday morning, beginning at 10, right? Yeah. 10. Until, you know, the last of the latecomers come. Please come on time. You'll have fun. We'll love up on you. Yes?
Can people outside the community come?
What? It's for the Grandma Rosedale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But nobody's gonna check your ID.
Nobody, no. There's so many people running around and we're all happy and sugared up and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I've been here for 50 years,
Oh, yeah,
so.
it's fun. It's fun. Okay, Claire is in charge of the egg packing party.
Sure, yeah.
Now, that's the funnest thing to go to. Now, if you like kids and you like candy and you like just talking all over one another and loving up on one another and seeing some of the new babies in the neighborhood, tell them about it, Claire.
Well, yeah, I think we covered it, right? So it's Saturday, April 20th, 10 to noon. In the meantime, we will, yeah, right here. And we are going to put up some donation boxes at Town Hall Cafe, as well as probably Cuts Lounge and here as well. So we could use plastic eggs and candy that will fit inside those eggs.
And when do you fill the eggs?
We will fill the eggs the week before. Yeah, it's usually like the third Tuesday or Thursday before, but we'll nail down a date and make sure it's in the e-blast.
Okay. Oh, great. May I do half of, okay. All you people who are on Artesian, let me show you two Artesians. Stand up, Dave. Stand up. All right, now. Lay down over there, lay down over there. This is how you look after you've been in the neighborhood a couple of years. You look pretty good. Your thoughts get organized.
Get more great.
And you can make convincing arguments for what we call progress. Now, there's some other people in this room that are famous too. Ben Washburn, he's been around. He's a mentor to half the leaders here. Ruth, Margaret, stand up so they can see you. Stand up. Margaret, stand up. We want these people to grow to look like you all. Oh. Stephanie was a kid out of the neighborhood. So I want you to know you're in a good neighborhood, you got good neighbors, and we have lots of fun. Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. All right, so we've got 2 Saturdays there, back to back. On April 13th, we'll do the park cleanup, and hopefully paint Wanda's barricades there. And then the following Saturday, it's the egg hunt here. Tons of fun. I want to convey, Stacy was not able to join us tonight. Something came up at the last minute. She's our coordinator for the Rippling Home Repair, Minor Home Repair Program. All of the applications have already been given out. So if you were hoping to fill out one of those applications, be sure you still reach out to Stacy and get your contact information to her, because I feel like the people who, I think we only had 4 this year, and I think those are people who were on the waiting list from last year. So if you missed out on this round of it, get your information to Stacy, and I think you can get on a list for next year. Next, we have Cheryl Davis, the chair of the Neighborhood Open House Committee, to come and bring us all the information about this year's open house. Let's give them a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cheryl Davis, and we do have fun in this neighborhood. I've been a resident for 33 years. So, and that's a good point about trying to bring newcomers in, and especially the young people, so they can take over and continue with the spirit that we have now. And in saying that, we're going to need volunteers for the open house. And a lot of people say, what is the Grandma Rosedale open house? I mean, we've had it, but we've only really had it 13 years. Last year it was skipped because there was repair work being done here in the community house. So, and I got a lot of calls last year asking when the event was. Solicitors calling, sponsored, but we promised that we were going to reactivate it this year. So the date is May 5th, and we do have some flyers we'll pass out. Just to give you some information, the background, it started 14 years ago because there were a lot of homes on the market that were there for a period of time where we weren't selling the properties. So we found a way to promote our neighborhood, and we found that as the years went on, we had so many outsiders come in. The first year we had about 40 homes on the market, and this year, every year, we try and struggle to at least have 10, because by the time we get commitments from realtors or neighbors that their homes are going to be on the market, they're sold. So that's a good problem to have, and so that'll be the only obstacle we're going to have this year. As the chairperson, we do have committee people, and I see Mary's here now, and Pam was the main person who got on me before Christmas. Cheryl, we are having this year, and I said, yes, we are going to have it this year. And one of the big highlights, though, is that we have bus tours, so outsiders as well as the neighbors get a chance to take a shuttle bus just to view our neighborhood. We have Beverly Frederick, who's already on it, to make sure that a lot of our areas are cleaned up and trees are trimmed. So we'll start sending information via Pam to you guys, so it'll be on e-blast, but we do need volunteers. So if you find that you're interested, and it doesn't have to be the whole day, it's May the 5th from 1 to 5. And we usually starting probably like at 10:30 or what have you. Mary's the person who is the hospitality person. And I'm quite sure she might need some assistance. But just if you do have an interest in participating as a volunteer, please send it, you can email Pam and she'll get it to us. The flyer also has some other contact information for you. Anything else? Oh, if you know anybody who wants to put their house on the market, this is a good time to let them know, to let their realtors know. If they don't have a realtor, I'm a real estate broker in the neighborhood, and this is my business partner. So our information is on the sheet as well for contact. But and let your neighbors know that May 5th we have visitors coming, so have your place clean. And the garbage, that's always a big problem because it's always on a Sunday. Remind people, don't put your garbage cans out until 6 o'clock. Recycle in, and I think one Monday we had bulk. So even if it's bulk, if you could just wait till after 7 o'clock, because you still have people, even when the event is over, you still have people visiting the area. We're also going to work with the businesses on Grand River, and I talked to Beverly Frederick. She said she was going to talk to the visitors on businesses on 6 Mile, because that's starting to flourish as well, because we're going to have a resource table so we can promote them. And if they're open that day, maybe they can offer a special or what have you. So if there are any questions, let me know. I sold Clara a house, I sold LaTrice a house, I sold, who else did I see? Stephanie.
I love my house.
Okay. And so people really want to be in this neighborhood. They really want to be in this neighborhood, and they should. We all agree.
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl. You're going to pass some of the flyers around. That would be wonderful. She's going to come around with some flyers. Please give thought to coming that day to be a volunteer. Even if you're a little bit shy or you've never done anything like that, it's still okay. You're an expert on your neighborhood, and that's who prospective people really want to talk to, people who live in the neighborhood. If you're a new neighbor, you're even more valuable because you remember what it was like to be looking, and you can explain why you made the choice that you did. So don't feel like if you're new to the neighborhood, you don't need to volunteer. No, you would be a great volunteer. We'd love to have you. So veterans, newbies, and everybody in between, just send your name to me and I'll send it on to Cheryl and we'll find a slot that works for you in terms of time and assignment. And you'll have fun. It is really nice. It feels good to talk about your neighborhood and why you love it. Okay? Moving along. The gala. Normally we held our gala at the end of January. We would swear in our new officers. We would have a lovely dinner here. We would present the Island Recognition Awards for the people who worked hard on the landscaping of their islands. And we would also present Community Service Awards to recognize many outstanding people in the neighborhood who lift us up and make us proud. All right, so they're renovating the kitchen, right? At the other end of the room, you see it's all blocked off. If you have a chance, you could go down the hall and peek around the corner. You can see the room is bare. There's nothing in there. It's all gone. They're installing a new commercial kitchen, and once we get through the whole process, it will be fabulous, but right now it's not so fabulous. And there have been repeated delays in getting their permits from the city of Detroit. They still don't have their final permit from the health department. There's some kind of a disagreement about the location of the water heater. So they're going back and forth about that. But the process is ongoing, but clearly it's not going to be done by March 29th when we're planning to have our gala. So we made an executive decision. We decided we just won't have a gala this year. We'll have a super gala next year. We'll have a fabulous party next year with a wonderful new kitchen. And in the meanwhile, we'll present those awards at the May membership meeting. So spread the word to people who haven't yet heard that the gala is postponed till 2020 and that we will present the recognition awards at the May membership meeting. Okay? Next, the Rosedale Park Radio Patrol meets a week from tonight. I don't think Kathy Rowland is here tonight, so I'll make the announcement for her. It's Tuesday, March 19th at 6:30 up at the GRDC building. If you already are on Radio Patrol, please come to the meeting. If you're not on Radio Patrol yet, consider it. And you could show up at that meeting at that time and you would find out a lot about it. It's a great way to learn about your neighborhood if you're new, and even if you're not so new. I have another announcement about signing up kids for baseball, t-ball, coach pitch. I have applications here. The season runs from the middle of April through late June. Opening day is Saturday, April 27th. If you'd like to pick up an application, here's a paper application. There's also information about applying online. Ken, what have I missed? Ken's
That's about it. Online is the easiest way. It's Rosedale grandmountbaseball.org.
Okay. RosedaleGrandmountBaseball.org. You can go online.
3 to 16 years old.
3 to 16 years old, boys and girls. If you'd like a paper application, take one for a neighbor or a friend on your block if you think they might like to have it. It's a wonderful experience. Over 400 kids play ball. Many children who from our neighborhood have gone on to star on Cass Tech teams and Renaissance teams and to play ball in college, and they all learn to play ball here in the Rosedale Grandmont Baseball League. So it's a great experience, and you should really look into it. I've got the applications up here. Any other announcements? Ruth Remus is on her way up here. I want to remind you all that there are Rosedale Park hoodies and t-shirts. The hoodies are $20 and the t-shirts are $6, $5, I can't remember. $6? So such a deal. Don't miss that on your way out. Okay, here's Ruth.
So the DIA has a program called Behind the Scene. And what they do is they have experts from the Art Institute come into the community at no charge and do a presentation.
So last year we did this in conjunction with GRDC and at the Annex, we called it last year. And they did in the garden, and it was a very nice presentation. Maybe 30, 40 people came to it. And we're going to do it again this year. This year the topic is In Our Own Voice, African American Art, Examining Issues of Race, Gender, Politics, and Culture. And it'll be in the same place, but now it's the Northwest Gallery of Art, and Asia Hamilton has agreed to host this for us. It's going to be on Thursday, May the 16th at 2 p.m. in the Northwest Gallery of Art. We will be asking for a free will donation this year because, of course, Asia is running the Northwest Gallery of Art, and we need to somehow or other compensate her not only for opening the gallery in our neighborhood, but also for allowing us to use the space. The co-sponsors are GRDC and Pages Bookshop. So please come Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock. I'm sure it'll be delightful, and you'll get to see not only some of your neighbors, but others that also may come from the Northwest Gallery's website that would be interested in art. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruth. We really appreciate the information. So, any other announcements? Any final words? The representative from Sharon Day-Dagnogo's office is here, and she has another announcement for us. Tony?
I won't be here long for you guys. So, I'm Tony Dunbar. I'm from Rep. Sherry Gay and Yogo's office. I'm her community liaison, but usually on your meetings I'm in Lansing, Tuesday through Thursday. So we've decided to get a intern within the district. Her name is Carla Underwood. She's in the back, so she'll be attending most of your meetings, so that whatever we miss, she'll be able to pick up the slack for us and advise on it. I did have 2 announcements. The first one is it's March Reading Month. So on the 18th, we're going to be right here at Cook STEM Academy. We need volunteers to read for the children at Cook STEM, and that's going to be at 12:30 p.m. Until about 2:30. Then the next day, it's going to be March 22nd. It's a Friday, and we're going to be at Edison Elementary School right here on Grand River, and we're asking everyone to be there at 12:30 again until probably about 2:30. There's going to be light refreshments at 12:30, and then at 1 o'clock we'll begin to distribute everyone out to their assigned rooms. And then on the back of them, of the flyer that we have, it's her coffee hours. We're going to start back up in April. The first one is going to be at Town Hall Cafe. It's from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on April 5th. And then the next one will be May 3rd. And that's going to be at Pages Bookshop. And that's from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Again, I do have flyers and I can pass it out, but just wanted to give you those brief announcements and advise that Carla will be here for the remainder of this year. So.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the information. Other announcements, anyone? Going once, going twice? I think we actually made it by our deadline, 2 minutes to spare. I look forward to seeing you at the cleanup at the park, at the Easter egg hunt, and then in May the 14th for our next membership meeting. Thank you all for coming.